Akuruoulo 2.0. How are we going to do this Akuruoulo? Akuruoulo. Our ancestors don't do it for us. Don't tell us how to do it. They started it. Now we go take them to the next level. We need to take it to the next level. You know, we can't be doing what our ancestors did. And what our ancestors did, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. 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 You can't take anything away from it, man. When you make money, you come back to your village, not just Nigeria. You come back to your hometown and you build Akuruoulo. That is what our ancestors told us as Igbo people. Yotago. But we cannot keep doing the same thing. We need to advance and we need AI don't come out. Yotago. The last time we had a big breakthrough in technology was the .com bubble. Call it bubble, call it whatever, right? The internet, pretty much. The internet came, it was like the biggest thing ever. Now we have AI. Things, they advance. Now so it be. We cannot be doing the same thing that we've been doing. Our forefathers start. We need to modernize them. And that is where Akuruoulo 2.0 comes into play. Yotago. Akuruoulo 2.0. This is just my idea. This is just an idea. How can we take this Akuruoulo to the next level? How? Make with a like, by the way. Make with the like, the share, so that more people will come here. Anyway, listen, right? From mansions to industries, Akuruoulo. From mansions to industries. This is something I want us to talk about today, right? And before I start, I want to make something very clear. I'm not against the current one. The current one where Igbo people, they build beautiful houses in our villages. In fact, I love it. I want to put that out there. I love it. There's something deeply Igbo about leaving home. You go abroad. You succeed somewhere else. Eventually, you come back. Build something that says, this is where I come from. It's beautiful. And that is the idea of Akuruoulo. Yotago, that is the idea of Akuruoulo. Bring your wealth home. Our fathers did it. Our mothers did it. Our generation, we've continued to do it. And it's beautiful. You travel to Lagos. You travel to Abuja, London, Houston, Johannesburg, Dubai, anywhere. You make money. Eventually, you come back to your village. Not Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria. Your village is inside Nigeria. But you come back to your village and you build. That is what Akuruoulo is. You know? Sometimes you build something modest. Sometimes you build something very enormous. Anyhow, where your money reach, you build them. Now, the beauty of Akuruoulo be that. We have houses in villages across Ndigbo that would compete with the most luxurious homes anywhere in the world. You get one house where I see Shena Fotunde North page where I see that house. This house be like White House. Yotago? This house be like White House. I bet you billions and billions of naira now enter that property. I'm not here to say, oh, you for use and do another thing. No be waiting at the talk with that. Yotago? I love it. It's beautiful. I love it. There's nothing wrong with that. I love it. But I have a question. Can it evolve? Can it evolve? Can we move from Akuruoulo, simply meaning come home and build a mansion? Can we move from that to an Akuruoulo that means come home and build an economy? Build your mansion still, but make we build economy. This is what I want to call Akuruoulo 2.0. Now my own. You know, say beer parlor man, when he don't drink like this, he go just begin to think. But that is what it is, right? From mansions to industries. Think about how much capital we have already, right? Think about what happens every December in the southeast. Drive through certain communities in Anambra, Imo, Abia, Enugu, Ebonyi. You see extraordinary private wealth. You know, the other day I was having a conversation with a guy. And the guy was like, Igbo people are individualistic when it comes to wealth building. And I asked him, do you know why? Do you know why? He kept saying things that were kind of subjective. Yeah, we're resilient. Yeah, we're smart. We're this. I understand all of that. But the core reason that we have those individualistic success, the core reason is simple. We dey hustle per head. We dey hustle per head. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying. But back to Akuruoulo, right? Back to Akuruoulo. Extraordinary private wealth. Sometimes you enter a relatively small village, like Abriba, for instance. You see houses worth hundreds of millions, even billions of naira. And then you travel 20 minutes away from those houses. The road, no good. No electricity. No modern industrial park. No railway. The young people around these mansions are looking for opportunities to leave that community. This contradiction, it's fascinating, right? We can have wealthy individuals living inside an underdeveloped economy. That one don't make sense. That means individual prosperity doesn't automatically produce collective prosperity. That's what it is. Imagine 100 wealthy Igbo people. Let's say each of them, they have the capacity, right, to invest 1 billion naira. I know they talk make anybody give me money, I beg. I'm not saying, I'm just hypothetically, I'm not saying anybody bring money here or there. Everything that they talk here now hypothesis, right? I'm not saying anybody should give me money, right? Imagine 100 Igbo people will get 1 billion to invest, right? Right? The capacity to invest 1 billion. Individually, that might become 100 different mansions. Individually, if you bring that 1 billion, 100 people, now 100 mansions be that. Hotels, properties, or personal projects. But put that 1 billion together, now 100 billion be that too. Do you know what 100 billion is? Right? Do you know what 100 billion is? This guy, Mark Okoye, where he's not my favorite person, right? Mark Okoye is not my favorite person. Now, maybe around 20-something billion naira where they don't give him. And in Karen, they do kalu. That guy, in carry the money, they do kalu. But just imagine 100 Igbo business billionaires, Igbo billionaires. Instead of that, because it's not an investment pretty much, building houses, it's not an investment, right? But put that 1 billion, put them together. Now 100 billion be there, right? Now imagine 500 investors. Imagine 1,000. On that same 1 billion, oh, and let's say all of them don't even have to contribute the 1 billion each, right? Some could contribute 100 million, some 500, some 5 billion, some 20 billion. Now we're talking about something completely different. We're talking about institutional capital. And this is where I think Ndigbo need to have serious conversation, right? Maybe our problem isn't that we don't have money. Maybe part of our problem is that our money is fragmented. We have individual wealth. But where are these big jointly owned institutions? Where are the companies? We have 500 successful Igbo businessmen and women. They own equity together. Where are the companies designed to exist for 100 years in Igbo land? That brings me to, the most important question in this entire conversation, right? Are we Ndigbo individually rich but institutionally poor, right? Because there's a difference. Look at what corporations actually do, right? Let's examine it for a minute. Some of the largest companies in the world, right? They don't belong to one person. Millions of people can own a piece of the same enterprise. Google, if not billions, right? Google now, billions, you go be billions of people that own Google now. You get the point. That is how one great invention, that's the great invention of capitalism. But we're not taking advantage of it. You don't need to know the other investors. You don't need to come from the same village. You don't even necessarily need to like each other, right? I don't know why my bia just they distract me. My mustache just they distract me. This mustache, even though I don't cut you, relax, mustache, leave me alone, right? You don't necessarily need to know each other. You don't necessarily need to like each other. All you need to agree on is governance. You agree on the rules, you buy shares. Professionals manage the company. There is a board, there are audited accounts, there are protections for shareholders. Capital that would be significant, individually becomes enormous collectively. That is what I want us to think about. Not everybody should give their money to somebody. I don't talk on before. I know they ask anybody to give me money. I wouldn't do that. I don't go carry my money, give anybody anyway. So I'm just saying, building a corporation that is professionally run. I'm talking about professionally structured corporations, right? Investment funds, infrastructure companies where people own equity. Your 500 million doesn't disappear. You bought an asset. You own shares. And those shares should potentially generate returns, right? Not be charity with the duo. Now capitalism. That is what capitalism is. Now let's talk about waiting under our feet for Igbo land, right? Natural gas. Natural gas. This is something that I think can build the next wealth in Igbo land. Natural gas. Nigeria itself, right, is a natural gas giant. When you compare Nigeria to the whole, the world in general, right? Nigeria has more than 200 trillion cubic feet of proven natural gas reserves. That puts us among the countries with some of the largest natural gas reserves in the world. And part of Nigeria's petroleum geography, it extends into the southeast, including the Anambra Basin and petroleum-producing areas around Imo and Abia, right? I want us to be careful here. Sometimes you go hear people give one exact number, say, Southeast has this amount of gas. That's not what I'm trying to say. I don't want us to do that. I haven't seen an authoritative current government publication that gives one clean proven reserve number for the 5 Southeast states. I don't know what that number is. There's a difference between proven reserves, discovered resources, and prospective resources. So I don't need to exaggerate the number to make this argument. I'm not going to do that, right? But the important thing here is there is a significant amount of natural gas resource. It exists in the Southeast. Let's put it that way. Instead of simply asking how much is underneath us, right? Perhaps we should start asking, what can we build with it? Put this this natural gas into global perspective, right? Just briefly, let's understand where natural gas sits in the world. The exact rankings and the reserve estimates vary. It varies depending on the source, the year. But approximately, the countries with the world's largest proven natural gas reserves: Russia, Iran, Qatar, US, Turkmenistan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, China, then Nigeria. And we have more than 200 trillion cubic feet. The one where they don't prove for Nigeria. Venezuela is also on that list. Now compare that with the Southeast, right? I can't stand here and tell you, I sit here and tell you that the Southeast has maybe 20 trillion cubic feet or 30 trillion cubic feet. I don't know the exact number. I don't have that authoritative government figure establishing that. I don't have that. But what we know is that in Anambra, gas they there. We know, say, for Imo State, Abia, important petroleum producing geology day for there. And we know exploration remains incomplete. So my argument is not, the Southeast has more gas than Qatar. That's not what my argument is. My argument is simple. We don't need Qatar's gas reserves to begin industrializing Ali Igbo. We need to intelligently develop what we already have. Gas itself is not the final product. Gas is the beginning. Gas no be just cooking gas. No be just cooking gas. Anyway, make we continue the like. Make we continue the like and share and get more people here to join the show. Let's like and share, get more people here to join the show. Like and share. This is one of my boring series. This is one of my boring series where I talk about the progress of Ali Igbo, how we can transcend, into the next level, right? Because they say if you bit Pekin, big Pekin, sometimes you go stop, and say, okay, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do, this is how you should do it, this is how you should not do it. So, I'm having these boring sessions as well, where I talk about the things that I think, the ways that I think Ali Igbo can progress and advance. So let's keep liking and sharing and get more people here to join the show. So again, gas, no be just cooking gas, right? When many people hear natural gas, they think about cooking, not be just cooking gas. It's not just that. Natural gas can be much more than that. It can generate electricity. It can provide industrial heat. It can support fertilizer production. It can support petrochemicals. It can provide feedstock for plastics and chemicals. It can support CNG transportation. This one now they use for these buses now for Nigeria. It can support manufacturing. So instead of thinking you get gas, you sell the gas, you collect money, let us think gas, produce electricity, industries, jobs, export, then the wealth is created. Or you think of gas, fertilizer, agriculture, food, processing, export, right? Gas, petrochemical, manufacturing, finished products, export. Suddenly, this thing where they under our ground now, it becomes the foundation of an economy, right? Imagine a different Igbo. Let us imagine something different with me. Just imagine it here. Imagine that somewhere along Abowerri industrial corridor, we establish enormous gas-powered industrial zones, right? No generators, sit down there, they blast every time, right? No generator, just they there, they blast. I'm talking about proper, reliable industrial power. Factories, know that when they turn on their machines on Monday, electricity they there for them. 24 hours if they need it. Anyhow, they want time, it day for them, right? Factories know that. Imagine what that does for Aba. Aba already has manufacturers. Aba manufactures shoes, clothing, leather goods, furniture, metal products, machines, thousands of different things what Aba they manufacture right now as we speak, right? Our people, we are already manufacturing for Aba despite the lack of infrastructure, right? Now imagine giving that entrepreneurial population industrial grade electricity. Shout out to OT. Shout out to OT. OT is on the path. OT is on that path. We'll go get there. But imagine the population now having industrial grade electricity. Production costs will fall. Factories become larger. Machines become more sophisticated. Products become more competitive. Investors become more willing to invest. Exports become easier. Jobs multiply. That is where I want Igbo capital to go. Then you go Nnewi, the same thing. Nnewi already has extraordinary industrial tradition, right? Automotive components, manufacturing, trading, engineering. What happens if Nnewi is connected to reliable electricity? I don't know what Soludo they do for Anambra. I don't know what Soludo is doing there. In the build airport. Hey, man. Soludo they build airport. Airport already there for Anambra. Soludo saying one build another one. Professor. Professor, no teach me nonsense. Teacher. Why you teaching me? They go. Make you no teach me. They go. No, they teaching me nonsense. Now, fella sing that one. Eh? Professor is teaching us nonsense. There is already an airport in Anambra that is not even economically viable. It's not viable economically. So Ludo saying one build another airport. Meanwhile, electricity they there where you go focus on like OT is doing. We they there where need electricity. You leave her. You say that airport be your problem. But imagine if Nnewi is connected to reliable electricity, modern logistics infrastructure, regional railway. What happens if a manufacturer in Nnewi can put a container of products onto rail and move it efficiently toward the port, right? Now you're not just improving Nnewi, you're changing the economics of manufacturing. Then you go on Onisha. Onisha is already one of the great, commercial centers in Africa, right? But what should Onisha look like in 2050? Why should our idea of a market remain thousands of shops squeezed together with terrible parking, weak logistics, fire risks, trucking, fighting for trucks, fighting for traffic? Why can't we build the markets of the future? Again, shout out to OT, right? Shout out to OT. Toludo was saying go build Japan. We no see Japan. Oti no even tell us say he go build anything. Oti don't finish work. Shout out to Oti. Soludo say he go build Japan. For 8 years don't they finish like this. We no see Ja, not to talk of pan. Eh? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Why can't we build markets of the future? Eh? Imagine enormous modern wholesale districts, warehouses, loading terminals, digital inventory systems, fire suppression systems, banks, insurance, hotels, restaurants, parking structures, logistic companies, rail connections, truck terminals, reliable electricity, very important, digital payment infrastructure, proper sanitation, waste processing, right? Even dedicated freight rail directly connected to these commercial centers, right? Now the Akuruoulo 2.0 be that too. Now the Akuruoulo 2.0 na be that. Then Enugu. When I know say I still get my beef with Peter Mba. Peter Mba they build smart city. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All these our Southeast governors. I don't know what we go do them. Oh. I really don't know what we are going to do to them. But again, Enugu, right? Enugu can play a very important role in education, technology, professional services, research, healthcare, corporate headquarters, advanced industries. There's no reason every Southeast city needs to compete to become exactly the same thing, right? One area becomes exceptionally good at manufacturing. Another one becomes logistics hub. Another develops technology. Another becomes energy hub. Another specializes in agriculture and food processing. Why are we not thinking in this way? Why are we not thinking this way? Huh? Why we need to think this way for Southeast? You know? One area they focus for manufacturing, another side now logistics, another side now technology, another side, energy hub, another one specializes in agriculture and food processing. And this is where these IPOB people, right? Every time then they shout Biafra, Biafra or nothing, Biafra or nothing. What was the number one thing where they want to use wound us, finish us for that Biafra? Food. Till this day, we are still not, we still never did like sustainable, like be how did they speak that English? Like food now no be our problem again. Food security, we don't solve that problem. How is it that till this day we've not solved food security in the Southeast? Till this day. And these people will continue to shout Biafra, Biafra, Biafra. I did a show the other day. If Biafra happen now, waiting go happen tomorrow. If Biafra come today, waiting go happen the next day. These people are so cost than just they cost me. Now so cost. That cost than just they cost me. You know if you ask these people questions without them costing you, they won't use food finish us for Southeast. Till today, we still don't have food security in the Southeast. How is it we're not thinking about these things? Right? How is it? How is it that one area for that Southeast never turned to a manufacturing hub? How is it that one area for that Southeast never turned to logistics hub? How is it that one area never turned to technology hub? How is it that another area has not turned to energy hub? How is it that another area has not turned to agriculture and food processing hub? Then together they form one interconnected regional economy, right? Right? Now connect everything. This is where the rail now becomes very important. Imagine a regional rail network connecting Aba, Owerri, Onitsha, Nnewi, Enugu. Just imagine them. Imagination won't finish me, Abi. Imagination won't finish me. And the surrounding industrial and agricultural areas, right? Not simply passenger trains. We are talking about freight. Because industrialization requires moving things around. That's what industrialization needs. Raw materials have to enter factories. Finished products have to leave the factories. Agricultural products have to reach processing plants. Containers have to reach ports. Workers have to move. Businesses have to move goods cheaply, right? Then our supreme leader, our supreme say you will sleep in Nigeria and wake up in Biafra, milk and honey. How about you work in Aba and live in Umuahia? How about that? Instead of giving people stupid dreams, oh, you will sleep in Nigeria, you wake up in in this thing, in Biafra, milk and honey. That was the only strategy where that guy gets. Sleep in Nigeria, wake up in Biafra. How about you work in Aba and live in Umuahia? Or you work in Umuahia, you live in Aba? How about that? Now train if you use Duam. Shout out to Oti. Shout out to Alex Oti. Because now Alex Oti, they do what in supposed to do. Alex Oti now actually get us for mind. I they tell you. Shout out to Alex Oti. Imagine somebody living in Owerri and working in Aba. Imagine someone living outside Enugu and commuting into the city. Right? Imagine an Aba manufacturer moving a container by rail instead of putting everything on trucks, traveling congested roads. Then these cities, they stop behaving like isolated islands, right? They begin functioning as pieces of one economic machine. And then we need access to the world, right? Eventually, these products, they need to leave. They will need to leave Igbo. That means ports. And here we have to be realistic. You don't simply wake up tomorrow, gather 50 billionaires and build a seaport wherever you want. No be so they do. You know, this is not the conversation where me and my IPOB people would always argue. We need a seaport. We need a seaport. See, you know, they for Igbo. Make we understand that one. It's not when somebody says it, it's not mean-spirited. It's not a mean-spirited something. It is a fact. See, you know, they for Igbo. See, you know, they for Igbo. It's just what it is. But it can be done working with neighboring, states, working with the federal government, private investors, right? Institutional investors, diaspora capital, banks, development finance institutions, international investors. That combination can finance infrastructure far larger than what one wealthy individual could ever build, right? This is why government still matters. I don't want anybody to misunderstand this argument. I'm not saying government has failed, therefore businessmen should become government. Don't be waiting at the talk here. Government has responsibilities. Government must provide security. Government must protect property rights. Government must build and maintain appropriate public infrastructure. Government must establish sensible land policies. Government must regulate. Government must make approvals predictable. Government must invest in education. Government must create long-term development plans. The most important for Southeast, our 5 states need to learn how to think regionally. We need to start thinking that. An investor doesn't care that he crossed from Abia and he into Imo. No. A container doesn't care that he crossed from Anambra into Enugu. Electricity doesn't care as long as he did. Railway shouldn't care. Economy shouldn't matter. So why should every major development strategy stop at state boundaries? What if the 5 states plan together? What if we start planning together as one unit? Imagine the 5 Southeast governors sitting down and saying, when last be the time, when was the last time these people sat down for an economic meeting? These are our egotistical people we get for Southeast right now, right? When last did they sit down to discuss what should the Southeast economy look like in 2050? Where should our major industrial corridors be? Where should the railways run? Where should the logistics hubs be? Where should the gas processing, infrastructure be? Where should the power plants be? Make I drink small water. Easy to talk. Cho. Now, so my mama, they cost me. My mama, they yab me. Say, na cho, they do. Shout out to my mama, Jare. Shout out to my mama. Now, so she they yab me every time. Cho. Nah, cho, they do. No problem. No problem. I agree. No problem. Now, cho, man, I be. Make we continue to like and share and get more people here to join the show. Let's get more people here to join the show. Keep liking, keep sharing. And if you've not followed me yet, please feel free to, follow me so that you go to get updates like this. When would they share the updates? Your tago. Anyway, why are our 5 Southeast governors not coming together and asking these questions? Where should the railway run? Where should the logistic hubs be? Where should the gas processing infrastructure be? Where should the power plants be? Where should our new cities expand? Where should our agricultural processing zones be? Where should the universities and research centers specializing in engineering, energy, and manufacturing be? Where should they be? Where should our largest markets be? Where should the freight terminals be? And how does everything connect? Now we are planning a civilization. Yotago. Not simply commissioning road. Every day then the commission road. Now let's come back to the mansions, right? Because I know a person now go say, Kachi, are you telling people what to do with their money? Not be waiting how they talk be that. Build your mansion. Seriously, build your mansion. If you worked for your money and you want a beautiful house in your village, build it by all means. Put 20 bedroom inside. Shout out to Speed Darlington. Shout out to Speed Darlington with his Pride Mansion. Yotago. Shout out to Speed Darlington. One choice, my brother, or my, I don't know. This is why they call me son now. I don't know how I'll address you, One Choice. But I greet you. Shout out to you, One Choice. Thank you for being here. You know, shout out to Speed Darlington with his Pride Mansion. By all means, build your mansion. Put 20 rooms inside. Put 3 swimming pool. If now waiting will make you happy, do it. Now your money, you worked hard for it. My argument is different. After that mansion, what is next? That is my argument. Because there is something we need to discuss when we talk about these houses. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. We confuse an expensive asset with generational wealth. They are not necessarily the same thing. You can build a 1 billion naira mansion today. But what happens in 30 years? What happens when you're gone? What happens when your children live in Lagos, London, Houston, Toronto? Nobody wants to live permanently in that house. What happens? Who go maintain them? Who pays for repairs? Who pays for security? Who maintains the swimming pool? Who pays the electricity bills? If 5 children inherit one enormous mansion, what exactly do they do with it? That mansion may have it might have been your dream, right? It may not be your children's dream. And it certainly may not be your grandchildren's dream, absolutely. So yes, the building, it may survive. Like I was watching a video of, I think it was, tell me this guy name, Mbadiwe, K.O. Mbadiwe, for Imo State, somewhere from Imo State. They showed his house, they showed where he's buried. Very beautiful, even though I don't know if they talk say grave, they're beautiful, right? But you get a point. But the house and the place, they're very beautiful, right? You get a point. So those things are important. But what I'm saying is, for the regular person, who go inherit those things? Right? Who is going to inherit those things? The building may survive. Yes, the building may survive. But that doesn't necessarily mean the wealth continues multiplying. Compare that with the productive ownership what they propose, right? Imagine that instead, part of your wealth owns shares in a power company. Your children inherit those shares. The company is still selling electricity. Dividends are still being paid. Your grandchildren go inherit those shares as well. Unless say you get children like, I don't want to use myself. Typically, I go use myself as example. But I don't want to use myself for this one. You know, I did think of who I want to use now as example. Unless say you get children, maybe the ones who could just chop everything where you live. But ideally, those shares go continue to produce money. You know, dividends go to enter. The company is going to expand. Its own, additional power plants would come up. Additional infrastructure, the value of your ownership has potentially grown. That is generational wealth. That is generational wealth. Imagine owning shares in an industrial park, right? 50 years later, factories are still paying rent. Warehouses are still operating. Companies are still paying for electricity, water, logistics. Your grandchildren don't have to understand how you originally built it. They don't need to understand that. They simply own a part of a productive institution. Imagine owning part of a railway company, a logistics company, fertilizer company, manufacturing conglomerate, petrochemical company, commercial district, power company. These are assets capable of producing income after the founder is dead. And that is the difference I want people to understand, right? A mansion can store wealth, right? A productive institution can potentially multiply wealth. Your children's children. This is the part that excites me the most, right? When I talk about Akuruoulo 2.0, I'm not simply talking about what happens to us. No, I'm talking about people who haven't even been born yet. Your children's children, your grandchildren may not even, they may not want your 20-bedroom mansion, but they will probably appreciate owning shares in a company worth hundreds of billions of naira, right? They may not care about the swimming pool you installed in 2026, Yotago, but they will appreciate the dividends from a power company in 2066, right? They may never live in your village mansion, but they will appreciate inheriting shares in the industrial park that transformed that village into a city, right? Generational wealth goes beyond the shares they inherit. If we build this correctly, right, they inherit something even more important. They inherit an economy. They inherit functioning cities. They inherit industries, infrastructure, universities, companies, employment opportunities, an environment where they can start new businesses. They inherit a region where living home is an option rather than a requirement for success. That is the generational wealth what they talk about. And this one is on another level. Think about the companies that have existed for generations. There are companies around the world that established 50 years ago, 100 years ago, some even longer. The founders are dead. Let me tell you about, I think, get this company for US, Walmart, right? I believe. The founders don't die now. The person who started the Walmart, the original person, he don't buy. But today, Walmart for US, sales every day from across the US alone, I believe in other countries as well. Over $1 billion. I'm not making this up. Sale where Walmart they bring every day. $1 billion. I'm not making this up. And I think P2B has a potential here in that regard because it's in the retail business. I don't know why P2B's shop is a big grocery store, no day for everywhere for Nigeria. I don't understand why. I don't know why. Walmart is the biggest employer of labor for America. P2B has that potential. P2B power. P2B power. Make I do like Bish money. P2B power. P2B power. P2B has the potential to do that. I don't know why he's not doing it. You see what I'm saying? Right? The founders of most of these companies don't buy. But their descendants, they still own shares. Millions of people who weren't born when these companies were established, they work there today. Suppliers became wealthy because those companies existed, right? Cities developed around these industries. What would they talk about? Universities created programs to supply their workers. Entire ecosystems emerge around those companies. That is what institutions can do. So I would challenge these wealthy Igbo men differently. Build your mansion. Enjoy it. Let your family enjoy it. But ask yourself one additional question. What am I building that my children's children can own? Not simply visit. Not simply take pictures every December. Not simply argue over during inheritance. Own an asset that produces, an asset that earns, an asset that grows. An institution that continues functioning, whether your grandchildren live in Aba, Abuja, London, America, wherever. Because the greatest Akuruoulo may not be the house carrying your name. It may be the institution still creating wealth for your family and your community long after you're gone. The diaspora also has a role, right? Diaspora get a role. Imagine adding the Igbo diaspora to this. There are many Igbo doctors, engineers, professors, entrepreneurs, bankers, technology professionals all over the world, right? Some have capital, others have expertise, right? Some have capital, others have expertise. Others have connection. Others understand industries we haven't developed yet for Nigeria, right? Akuruoulo 2.0 shouldn't simply ask them, how much money can you send? You should ask, what can you own? That distinction is important, very important. Diaspora investment shouldn't be charity. Shouldn't be just, oh, person they seek, send money. No, you should create investable assets. Create properly regulated funds. Create professionally governed companies. Publish audited accounts. Protect minority shareholders. Create exits. Create dividends. Transparency. Then tell an Igbo engineer living somewhere for maybe, I don't know, Japan, you can come own part of this industrial park. Tell an Igbo doctor living somewhere in London, you can come own part of this hospital network. An Igbo entrepreneur in Dubai, you can come own part of this logistics company. Tell somebody in Germany, you can come invest in manufacturing company. Akuruoulo now becomes an investment philosophy. But there's one big problem we have to address, right? Trust. Trust. Because we're talking about billions and trillions all day, right? If people don't trust the institution holding their money, this is going to fail. And frankly, they haven't, they shouldn't trust it simply because somebody says, oh, this is for Ndigbo. Just like Nnamdi. Then giving Nnamdi money to... Well, the other day I did, this is my sister name, Anya Anambra. Shout out to Anyi. Shout out to Anyi. I did Anya Anambra show the other day. I be some show. I go talk about Nnamdi Kanu. Say, why you they talk about Nnamdi Kanu now? Why you they talk about I go talk about that. Because I want you to recover. I go talk about that. If you don't let me talk about that for your show, I go talk about that for my own. You know what I go? Nnamdi Kanu is an onyori. Na thief he be. Then give him money to go do something. He die the money, begin the shout to Biafra, Biafra, Biafra. Oh, onyori kob. But nobody should trust anybody just simply because they say this is for Ndigbo. That's not enough. There must be governance, independent boards, audited accounts, professional management, shareholder protections, clear ownership, clear regulations, transparent procurement, conflict of interest rules, right? Regular reporting. No politician should be able to call somebody and say, oh, give that contract to my brother. No billionaire should be able to say, oh, I invested the most money, therefore the company belongs to me. If we cannot build institutions that survive personalities, then we cannot build what I'm describing here, right? It's just not going to work. And that may be the real revolution here. The industrial revolution I'm talking about. It's not just factories. It's a revolution in how we organize capital, how we cooperate, right? How we build institutions, how we plan, how we invest, how we think about wealth, how we think about inheritance, how we think about legacy. Because in Igbo, we already know how to make money. We already know how to come together. We know how to coordinate. We know how to bagota ourselves. Nobody needs to teach us entrepreneurship. Nobody needs to teach us that one. The evidence is there everywhere. The next challenge may be, can we aggregate that entrepreneurial power? Can 100 successful Igbo people build something together? 1,000, 10,000. Can millions of ordinary Igbo people own smaller shares alongside them? Can we create corporations that become household names across Africa? Can we create companies, right? Companies that our grandchildren inherit shares in instead of simply inheriting houses. Imagine the result. Imagine Igbo 30 years from now, right? Reliable electricity, industrial cities, modern markets, modern hospitals, research universities, manufacturing corridors, railways, connecting major cities, freight moving efficiently, modern logistic hubs, gas processing, fertilizer production, petrochemical, agro-processing, technology companies, new residential developments growing around industrial centers, right? Young people moving into the Southeast because opportunities exist there, right? People graduating from university and saying, I'm moving to Aba because I got an engineering job there. I'm moving to Nnewi because an automotive company hired me. I'm moving to Enugu because I got an IT job there. I'm moving to Owerri because I got a job in the energy industry. Imagine people from other parts of Nigeria and West Africa moving into Igbo because that is where the opportunities are. That's when you know we've built something different, right? And here's the part I really want us to think about. We spend a lot of time discussing what Nigeria has done to Ndigbo. Go to any Igbo platform, now waiting and they discuss. Some of those conversations, they are legit. History matters, right? Political decisions matter. Federal policy matters. But there is another question we should be brave enough to ask, what can we build with what we already have? Our people, our entrepreneurs, our diaspora, our markets, our manufacturing tradition, our land, our commercial networks, our natural resources, our gas, our universities, our geographic position, our capital. Maybe we don't control every variable, right? We don't control every variable, for sure. But we don't need control. We don't need to control every variable before we start controlling the ones that we can. The first Akuruoulo series what I do, would they build house? Would they build houses? And they are good. He told successful Igbo men, never forget home. That's the first Akuruoulo way we do. Build, when you make money, come back home. Don't forget your ancestral communities. I don't want us to forget about it. I don't want us to forget our ancestral communities. I don't want us to abandon it. I want us to expand it. That's what I want us to do here. Let's expand on it, right? Akuruoulo 2.0, this is my proposal. It's saying, never forget home. Build your house, but also build the company. Build the factory, build the power plant, build the industrial park, build the modern market, right? Build the logistics company, invest in railway, invest in agriculture, invest in technology, build institutions, create jobs. And most importantly, build things that can outlive you. Because maybe the next monument to Igbo success shouldn't only be another mansion behind a giant gate. It should be a company employing 20,000 people. It should be an industrial city. It should be a railway carrying products products made in Aba and in Newi toward international markets. It should be a power company supplying reliable electricity to millions of people. It should be a fertilizer factory feeding an agricultural revolution. It should be a corporation owned by thousands of Igbo families and still operating 100 years from today, right? That is the conversation I want us to have. I don't want us to be saying, should Ndigbo start building mansions? No, I'm not saying stop building mansions. Build your mansion. The question is, can we build something bigger than our mansions? Can we consolidate some of these extraordinary private wealth? Can we turn gas into electricity? Electricity into industry, industry into jobs, jobs into cities, cities into prosperity, prosperity into institutions that survive generations, right? Can we build something that our children inherit and their own children will inherit it as well, right? If we can, then Akuruoulo will no longer simply mean, oh, I don't make money, I built a beautiful house at home. It could also mean, I've made my money, I don't succeed, I help build homes. Maybe that's the revolution Akuruoulo should be pointing towards, right? Not simply saying, oh, just bring your wealth home. But let us plant wealth at home so future generations can harvest it. Now the Akuruoulo 2.0 be that. From mansions to industries. Now I can tell you now, my mother go say, Kachi Kachi don't do church, Kachi is doing church. I agree. Shout out to my mama. Shout out to my mama. I agree. Na church I sabi how to do. No problem. No problem. Na church I sabi do. But maybe one day, this my church go make sense to some people. I love Igbo. I want Igbo to succeed. I want Igbo to progress, right? I think that's what most people want. I think that's what most Igbo people want. But because they don't know how to come back from this Biafra and IPOB, they're stuck there. They think this Biafra and IPOB go give them, I don't know, this milk and honey when Nnamdi Kanu promised them, right? But that's not the only way. We can make Igbo to be successful. We can build industries. We can take what we have and make the most of it. We can build research institutions. We can have a regional railway. We can have industrial parks. We can have technology. We can have we already have manufacturing, but we need to modernize it. We can have modern markets. All these things are possible in Igbo. Anyway, listen, man, this is the end of my monologue. I know say my monologue don't go take 1 hour. Shout out to me, man. I know say my monologue don't go take 1 hour. I know. Oh my goodness. But hey man, thank you guys for being here. Let's read some chats. And I see somebody requesting. Let me see if the person is still there, but we'll go read some chats and then bring the guest up and then go from there. The doctor, I see you. Thank you for being here. We'll go bring you up in a minute. All right. Make we see the people who give me so far. EJ Life. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate you. One choice. Say I've been son. So I will call him my papa. One choice, my papa. I greet you. Thank you for being here. Garigo. Thank you so much. Attitude. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for the gifts. I appreciate it. All right. Make we read some chats here and then go from there. All right. Make we see. Babatunde Agunloye says, answer is you can't, otherwise you would have done it. Make sure they put punctuation for on chat so that we'll feel read and well. Answer is you can't, otherwise you would have done it. What do you mean you can't? Yes, we can, man. Yes, we can. Impossible is nothing, man. We just need to now the mindset. Once the mindset they there, anything where you put your mind to, you go achieve them. If you can't, don't put your limitations, your insecurities. No, put your insecurities on other people, right? If you can't, that's okay. But we can if we put our mind to it. We never put our mind to them. Now I make they talk about them every time. Now I make you they see me they talk about them, right? Now the consciousness is the mind. It's all about the mindset. Once you put your mind to them, nothing where you put your mind to where you know if you accomplish. Today human beings they go Mars. I don't know, human beings never go Mars yet, but you get the point. Go space, go moon, go there, go here. As we speak now, you get one spacecraft where two of them actually, where just they hover for space. Voyager. Voyager. I don't know, Voyager. It's there for orbit. Is it orbit? It's there for space. Just they go. They collect data, they send back. We're talking about millions of miles away from us. It's still they send data to I say Nigeria. Not Nigeria, but you get the point. To whoever send them. It's just they send data, come back to Earth, right? So when whatever you put your mind to, you go achieve them. If you carry your small mind, they talk say you can't. Don't put that limitation on me, man. It's what it is. But anyway, Garigo says that's what I'm trying to build. What are you trying to build, Garigo? What are you trying to build? Let's hear about it. All right, make we continue to read chats here. Let's see. Okay, let's see. One choice. Thank you so much for being here. I greet you. EJ Live says, Amen. Can we dredge Azumini to enable ships to come in? Something to consider. I don't know. Azumini for I believe you mean Azumini for Abia State. I don't know. Azumini for Abia State. It's not just dredging Azumini. If not the Azumini ready for Abia State, you still need to go because that water, I believe the source is from the Atlantic. If the source is from the Atlantic, that means it comes from River State, right? So you're not just dredging the Azumini itself. You have to dredge from River State. Why would the government want to do that? You see what I'm saying? So why would the government want to do that? The source is from the Atlantic, and that Atlantic source, now from River State it come, right? From South, River State side, now it come. So why would the government want to do that if there is already a port in River State, 2 ports in River State, another one for Akwa Ibom. I believe there's another one in Akwa Ibom, right? So why would they want to do that? It doesn't make economic sense for the government to do that. So yeah, I hear you on that, but I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense for the government to do that. At least that's my thought anyway. But we can make do with what we have. There are ports already existing in Nigeria. So, they say you don't need to invent the wheel, all right? They say you don't need to invent the wheel. But anyway, that's a good thing to think about. Absolutely, EJ Live. Thank you so much. All right, make we bring our first and probably most likely only guest. Make we bring our guest up here and hear what he has for us, and we go from there. All right, the doctor, thank you for being here. Thank you for requesting. Make we hear what you get for us. Ndigbo, I greet you.
Yeah, so I just got a few points to make. The concept of Akuruoulo, I think people do not really think it in the proper way.
The doctor, can you help me, please? There's a lot of noise in your background.
Yeah, I'm just closing up my door.
All right. Yeah, if you can just help us so that everybody go enjoy your thoughts here.
Yeah, just 1 second.
All right.
Is it clear now?
Definitely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sure. So what I was talking about was people do not really understand the concept of Akuruoulo. Most of them believe that because Kachi don't build a 10-bedroom mansion, myself, I go build 15-bedroom mansion. So, and that context keeps going on, and people trying to compete against each other on useless things, and most of them building houses that they do not even live in from January to December.
Yeah.
So now, in those places you're building those houses, there's no proper road, there's no electricity, there's no water, there's no Wi-Fi or internet, there's no security, there's no basic amenities, no hospital, no police, no proper police infrastructure.
No government presence, in fact.
no government presence. No, nothing at all that gives you a very good quality of life. It's just you come back once in a year and you turn on your noisy generator and pollutant generator, and you watch TV and make noise within your compound, and after that you go back. So it's totally irrelevant. And these people, most of the people that we hear that are very rich in the Igbo land, or big Cubano, or whatever it is, we only hear that they are rich, but we do not see what actually makes them rich. We do not see the value of their richness. There's no proper, you cannot say that this person has built up a factory or a production line or supply chain or even a tech company or whatever it is in the Igbo land or wherever they are, and they have employees. They have about 5,000 or 1,000 employees. No, and our people encourage that kind of lifestyle more because they want to hear that, this guy come through 10 million for this club. And we know who be Kubana, he used 20 cows, they do wedding. So all those kind of stupid mentality, and that is actually what has kept on eating on our people. And these rich people, you cannot advise them because some of them claim to be richer than you. So who are you to advise someone that is richer than you?
Yeah.
And another thing is that that mentality has drained a lot in our people, that even the ones that travel abroad that comes to other countries carry the same mentality perpetually. For instance, I am in the tech industry and we are operating a business that has the potential of valuating in the hundreds of millions of dollars, which is a fintech app. But when you try to bring together our people that are in this country, try to bring their head together, let's come together and discuss what you can contribute, what are your qualities. The ones that have a very few amount of money in their pocket, what can you contribute so that we can make this global vision? They don't want to hear about that. They don't want to hear anything that has to do with business, technical, managerial part of the business. What they want to hear is that, if I carry this bell, I go through and for Ojota like this. Everybody, they just give me money, I go through another bell. So that is the only thing. And most of what they use their money for is buying useless electronics, spoiled electronics from this country, and use the electronics, very old, 5 years, 10 years electronics, and sending it back and throwing up electronic waste in Nigeria. That is the only kind of business concept that they understand. They do not understand the kind of business concept that would contribute millions in dollars to the economy. So, and another thing is, I have a cousin that was very close to me. He was he didn't have much at the time, but somehow, I don't know what he did. He somehow got some money that is equivalent to 100 million naira, which is this is about 7 years ago. So he knows what he did. I don't know what he did. So then the first thing he did was to block me and block all my relatives. So because he knows me, that he probably feel that if I am around him, that I would advise him against illicit spending of his money. Yes, that was his first step to block me off. And then first thing he did was to go buy a land, about 3 plots of land in our village, and started building a duplex. So now this guy does not have any stable source of business revenue or a job or whatever. He does not have any investment. He does not have anything that will regenerate the money for him.
Yeah.
The first thing he did was to go buy 3 plots of land and started building a 5-bedroom duplex or whatever. And he bought a car for himself. He bought a car for his sister. He bought a car for his brother. He's buying all these things and he's stuck in this country. He doesn't even have a visa to return to Nigeria, to travel to Nigeria anytime he wants. He didn't even consider that to be a priority problem for him. So he's buying things that he wouldn't even use for the next 5 years or even for the next foreseeable future. So he started that house and he reached the roofing level. He's roofed it, but haven't painted it and haven't done the renovation or the finished works.
Yeah.
And within 6 months to 1 year of getting that money, it was all gone, finished. So now, as I'm talking to you now, he has sold half of that house. that was empty part of the house. And he has sold his own car, has been sold. The one he bought for his sister, one of his brother that is Onye York. The boy took the car for a drive and damaged it in an accident. They sold it in Mbuka. So now the house is all covered up in grass, in bush. So, and some of the plots of land he bought, he sold them and squandered the money. This person that I'm telling you about had something above 100 million, at minimum 100 million naira.
Yeah.
And this is about 7 to 8 years ago when naira still had value. Yeah. So, and he spent about 30 million naira on that house, which is still not complete. So, can you tell me how on earth someone that had a chance of holding money that is somewhere around 100 million naira now begs for 1,000 naira to eat? How is that possible?
That's some crazy stuff. And this is the problem we have in Nigeria as a whole. Financial education, it's something that is lacking. A lot of people lack it, which is a shame. It's a shame. But yeah, I'm the doctor, yeah.
So now imagine that he had invested that money on, let's say he wanted to build something, build a hostel or whatever you can. And you're not traveling to go live in that house. You're not even planning to move back to Nigeria. No, you're not even, you can stay in hotel for 1 month that you're going to spend in Nigeria whenever you travel. So imagine you had invested that money in something that is tangible that can regenerate revenue. At this time, he would have enough revenue to open a stable business that will make him rich. But you chose something that is actually consuming rather than regenerating.
Absolutely.
So this is a very bad mentality. And the problem is that they carry it abroad. It doesn't stop in Nigeria. The ones that you see abroad still have that same mentality. And when you try to talk to them something that is contrary, they see you as mugu. This one don't know what to talk.
This one don't didn't know what to talk. That's so
it's a very terrible problem to our people.
Absolutely. But yeah, the doctor, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on this topic. But yeah, absolutely. And I see a lot of questions coming in the chat. We'll go read them in a moment. But the doctor, again, thank you for joining. Unless you have any final thoughts before we drop you and keep the show going.
That's it. I think this topic is very important, and your program is very sensational. So I hope that it will keep inspiring people.
Thank you.
Because we need more of this to, even if you cannot force them to adjust, at least let's keep putting the word out there, and hopefully one or two will pick it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the goal. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, the doctor. That's the goal. Absolutely. Make we continue the talk. My mama saying na cho. They do. No problem. Kachi is doing cho. No problem, Momsi. Shout out to Momsi. Anyway, Kulata, I see you. Kulata says, thank you for the $5, by the way, on YouTube. I appreciate it. He says, figuring out how to attract non-Southeast people to the Southeast en masse is the major fix. Most enduring developments has a good chunk of non-indigenous participation. You are very correct. They say two things fit be true. Two things can be true. So this one where you talk to, not true, my brother. Thank you so much for being there on YouTube. You also went further to say Southeast development can't be insular. That's a major flaw in most narratives. I hear you. But the reason why they make them insular, make I use your words. Insular. Make I use your word. Kulata, my brother, when they worry me from Facebook, not Facebook, YouTube. Thank you, my brother, for being there, by the way. Make I use your word insular, right? The reason I'm making it insular is we see these people, I would make I not say these people because it kind of sounds vulgar, right? But anyway, we see these are Igbo billionaires. Every time that they build a house, and these houses are not cheap, right? These houses, some of them, they cost $1 billion, 1 billion naira, 500. These houses are not cheap. So that's why I'm saying the insular one. Make we start from inside first. If you cannot do it from inside, why will other people want to be interested in it, right? You have to start from within first, so that then other people go say, it be like something that happen here. Oh, make we go put money here before this thing go fly us. Investors go begin to come in. That's just how it is, right? But yeah, absolutely, two things can be true. Absolutely, my brother Kulata from YouTube. Thank you. Anyway, I don't see any other requests. We've done an hour 10 minutes. If anybody, I've been seeing Executive Cop the request, but he's no longer requesting. And thank you, Executive Cop, for the rose. I appreciate it. Make we read some chats before we go and see what's going on. All right, skin to skin. Skin to skin. All right, we'll call you skin to skin. He says, give that advice to your siblings. Why you just there here, they para for people, skin to skin? What is going on with you, man? What is going on with you? Have you drank some water? Go and drink water. Drink water, then you go outside. Touch grass. Make your body calm down. Drink water. Make I drink my own. Then you go outside, go touch grass, so that your body go calm down small. Go outside, touch grass. If you like, you never touch grass for a while. Go outside and touch grass, make your body calm down. No, they cause people here. Anyway, make we bring executive. We go bring EJ Life up. Executive Cop, give me a minute. We go bring EJ Life up. Make we hear her thoughts, and then we go bring you up. Executive Cop, just give me 1 second. Make we bring EJ Life. All right, EJ Life, thank you for being here, my sister. Thank you so much.
Catch you for president.
You know how much they think they run for president? I wish.
Maybe one day, Nigeria will get to the point where you don't need money to run, and then we can just put you there to implement all these wonderful ideas.
They say talk is cheap.
Sometimes for people that are not serious, everything you're saying, like I commented there, that it is leaders with vision.
Yeah.
Think like you do.
Yeah.
When leaders are not visionaries, and I actually don't call Nigerian politicians leaders. They are just politicians.
Yeah.
They're not leaders.
Absolutely.
They are not visionary. They cannot see.
Except Alex Oti. Shout out to
Alex Oti. So majority of the politicians in Nigeria, all they know is borrow, steal, pocket. Aside from them, then you have the masses that think with this, that think like this guy, skin to skin, as you call it. That's what we have in Nigeria.
Yep.
And that's why I mentioned that our culture is too backward for to spur development. People, the masses need to be educated first. When you have people, when the majority of the population think like skin to skin, who do you think is going to build all these things you're talking about? You know, I've often said that the highest aspiration of the common Igbo man is, you know, make money, build mansion, then marry and have children. That's the highest aspiration of the average, you know, Nigerian, especially the Igbos. Why, what, you know, and then look at TikTok. 99% of TikTok content creators, you go there, all they talk about is my wife, this, my girlfriend, this, sex, this, marriage, this. You have to obey your husband. You know, you have to submit. That's all they talk about, think about. They are so obsessed with schmecks.
Yeah. You get my sister, Anya Anambra. Shout out to Anya. Anya did for chat here. I was on her live yesterday. She was talking about the same thing. We say one Igbo guy, he named Oriako. Imagine man with the answer Oriako. The man, every time, now this same thing where you talk about. That is what my sister was talking about yesterday as well. I believe it was yesterday. So yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I follow Annie. Annie says make let me just forget.
Make we leave Annie for now. Leave Annie.
I follow Oriako. You know, so, and you know, and that's why I said that our culture is too backward. When, you know, it's like our culture, they are so obsessed with making sure women don't fall out of line. A woman must obey the husband.
Yeah.
Now, you know, they don't, you know, if a woman is speaking, you know, notice most of the men there won't even pay attention. And then you will see them, when you see a man doing something great, a woman have talked about those things a lot. Like, for example, let's say Very Dark Man now. A lot of the things he's doing, I've talked about them, and I'm not here to give myself prop. I'm just trying to give an example. So when a culture, you know, cancels out half of its population, it's like canceling out half of your brain.
True.
What if?
But make one exemption here, right? Again, this is my sister Anya Anambra. You know that this is my sister and our Wahala sister, where she be, right? All those men, then they listen to her. All of them, then anything she talk, then they listen. So you know, we make the exemption for her as well, right?
You know, Annie is a real man. Annie is a real man, okay? I like her, you know, what is it? You know, she's very confident and, you know, I mean, she can do better if she wanted to, you know. Yeah. She can be a good instructor for our men.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. You know, but let's bring it back to Akuruoulo, right? Let's bring it back to Akuruoulo and then go from there. Akuruoulo 2.0, you definitely were here pretty much from the beginning of the show. What do you think about these ideas and these concepts? Why just they propose, right? What do you think about them?
They are fantastic. You know, fantastic. And this level of awareness that you have is what we need for the common Nigerian man, Igbo man, for example, or Nigerian. We need our people to think like you. But it's like there's only one catchy in Nigeria or in Igbo land. The rest of them are thinking about building mansions and skin-to-skin doggy. You know, we need the average, and that's where education comes in.
True.
Okay?
True.
You know, I've seen UNN produce some, you know, doctors that leave Nigeria, you know, they come here, USA, you know, do some more study and become great. But we need, because I've seen that even the university lecturers in Nigeria, a lot of them don't even know what they are teaching. You know, I've heard that like doctors in Nigeria, you go to hospital, for example, say a family member of mine goes there, and I call them to find out what's the diagnosis. They refuse to tell you because they don't know what the diagnosis is. When the teachers don't even know what they are teaching, how is our people going to learn to think like
right?
you?
I know.
Kachi, where did you go to school?
I go school
Can
for
you tell
Oka.
me?
Now Oka, I go school.
Okay, so then maybe you're a reader. Maybe you read a lot, because you reason like someone who lives, outside of Nigeria, in the Western world, and I can only say you must be a reader.
Thank you. I
People,
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, our people, they are not learning in school, and they don't even read. A lot of them cannot even read. A lot of them. That's the problem. See, when I hear that a governor is building some projects, building some mansions, this and that, I'm like, okay, what is going to happen in that building you're building?
Yeah. It's a shame. Take, for instance, Soludo. Soludo is building a second airport. There's an airport in Anambra currently that is already not even very viable, right? Soludo, a professor of economics, is building a second airport in Anambra State. Take, for instance, a professor, right?
Do you know, I used to admire Soludo, and then I found out, I realized that he's not the educated man I thought he was. Because of some of the things I've heard he does in Anambra. For example, when I heard that he told people to vote for a certain person, if they don't vote for him, he's not going to be able to do some of the things they want him to do. Yeah. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then when he was campaigning, I noticed that every campaign event, there is an ashebi, they wear uniform. I'm like, okay, let me not, like say something negative about, maybe he likes fashion, no problem. And then I think he said something bad about Peter Obi. I'm like, oh, this man is not educated. All these little things.
I mean, he's educated. Education and I don't know, intelligence. What I go talk now. I think two of them, the two go hand in hand like that. Soludo definitely is very educated, very well educated. He's a professor. They need a dash professorship. He has to have written papers and all that good stuff. But it doesn't mean that he's very intelligent. He's not a very intelligent guy, in my opinion, right?
Yes, that's the distinction, intelligence, because there are a lot of people that went to universities. There are even doctorate people that are very illiterate. When we say somebody is illiterate, they think, oh, you're insulting me. Oh, I didn't go. No. I've met PhDs that think like they've never left, Nigeria. And when I say left Nigeria, because traveling is education on its own. Absolutely. That's what I mean.
Absolutely.
If you cannot see beyond your own way of thinking, if you cannot see somebody else's point of views, you're not educated.
Absolutely.
Soludo, maybe he, passed the degree, whatever, 4 walls of university. But he's not maybe I can just say he's not enlightened.
I don't know what it is that's going on with Soludo, but it's what it is. Boy, life, we need to move forward. We just hit 11 minutes. We need to move forward. We need to bring the next guest. So if you want to help me round up.
Catch you for president. Go on. Your mom is very funny. Cha.
She said it's not cha they do. So no problem. Mom say I'm gonna do cha.
Thank your mom for me for producing such an intelligent young man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Nice talking to you, Kachi.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. All right, make we bring Executive Cup. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Before we bring you up, make I just read some chats here. And my sister, Anya Anambra, my Wahala sister. Thank you for being here. All right. Let's see. The doctor says the only thing they always discuss in their life is wife, girlfriend, and so many irrelevant topics. Absolutely. Don't worry. Beer Parlor is here now to change that space, right? The Beer Parlor is here to change that space for us. Ndigbo, let us gather here. Biafara. Nnamdi Kanu say now, come and join. Nnamdi Kanu say Biafara means come and join. So Biafara, the Beer Parlor podcast, right? Come and join. Anyway, EJ Life again, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. All right. Let's see who else is here. Itu Osas. He says most of the Edo people don't like those mansions so much because our children will not be able to, live there, I believe. And my sister say, "Kachi, start building your own. We will follow." Now money, no get my sister. Now money. If I get money, I will don't start. Money no day. Anyway, let's see who else is here. And let's see. Itu Osa says, good morning, Kachi. My first time joining your live. Thank you, my brother or sister. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I've listened to you. I have listened after you always finish your live. Yeah, absolutely. Now, like this, would they run the live? We could just run the live maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, and then we cut the clips and then put them on all our social platforms. Anyway, let's get back to it. Maybe we'll go use Executive Cup close today and go from there. All right, let's see what we have here. Executive Cup. Thank you for being here, my brother. I believe me and you don't get conversation. Maybe the last conversation we get, we no agree. Maybe because it was
No.
Did we agree? I
No,
don't recall.
Me and you agree.
Okay, it doesn't matter anyway because I host shows that there's no way anybody will come to my show and disagree with me all through. There are some you will disagree. There are some you will disagree. There are some you will agree. So it's just what it is. But I appreciate you for joining again.
You only wanted the person that is going to counter you.
Disagreement, yeah, all right. Today in a submission we do today, so no problem. Let us hear your thoughts on the Akuruoulo 2.0. Let us hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts?
According to what I heard from my grandfather about building mansions instead of industries, he was pointing some things to me over building mansions. It was giving me proofs of all these mansions people build everywhere. At the end of the day, children they grow up. Everybody will scatter. You cannot be there for long. So nobody wants to go back to the village anymore. Everybody go to different places and build up their family.
And you would think this is common knowledge right now. This is your grandfather telling you. You would think this is common knowledge in 2026, right?
Yes, he told me, before he died, with proof.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the house gets abandoned.
Yep.
So the property is going to be there.
Absolutely. Wasting.
Wasting.
Absolutely.
And meanwhile, that property can become a hub of technology, can become a school.
Yep.
At least, that can be profitable to people in the community.
Yep.
Instead of the property just sitting down there. I was in Ezego's house. I think Okigwe.
Yeah.
Imo State, right? Yes. Somebody was showing me this is Ezego's house. Do you remember Ezego? If you see the house there, it has been abandoned.
Yeah.
It's a mansion. It's sitting there now as I'm talking to you, abandoned.
Yep.
You see, many look at P Square. Yeah, it's not their fault. It's not that they don't like it. It's not that they don't like their village. It's just philosophy of life. It's going to happen. There's nothing. My grandfather was giving me instances, showing me, oh, look at it. Look at Mr. This. Look at what happened to him. So I'm not advising you not to build. You can build, but you don't need to build much, bigger. Yeah, you don't need that big mansion. You can just build something complex, at least a bit.
Absolutely.
That whenever your family come, that can be maintained.
Absolutely. And nobody's even saying don't build. Yes, we can build. But we can also start thinking about building industries. Because just like the first, and I said this also in the monologue, the doctor, the first caller here, he said the same thing. You come out of that house where they use 1 billion naira build. The road no good. No road. No, literally, there's no government presence in the whole vicinity. Then what is the point? You go come there once in a year, once in 2 years. You on generator, you throw party, you go back. You come with security.
back.
It's not secure. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, right?
Well, yes. Do you know that thing has happened to me too right now as I'm talking to you? My own the same grandfather's house, because I live with him then, and my grandmother.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the house now, everybody has deserted because everybody have moved on. Some people, London, America, Lagos, everywhere we've scattered, built new family.
Yeah.
Nobody's even thinking of going there anymore.
Yeah.
You get. But now, do you know now? I have to make meeting with the member of the family. Then we just concluded on using it to renting it out for school. Now, a primary school is using it now, and a nursery school.
That's a smart thing to do. That's a smart thing to do.
Because we just locked it. Nobody is coming.
Yep. And if you just lock it like that, rodents, fly, rats, ants,
everything
go inside there.
Ants, so
lizard, everything.
The word said one they crack.
That too.
Yes. So we are now spending, and the house needs to be hearing voice of people.
Yep.
Yes, it needs to be house. If I was the year now, at least if the year voice, you go there alive. Yes,
that's so it be.
So, and I remember waiting the father, they tell me, say, come, look. So I actually held that word. What he actually said, I held it till today.
Yep. That's definitely good advice.
Yes. We just need to invest in human.
Absolutely.
Yes, invest in ourselves. All those houses cannot just be wasting.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, the Igbo community now, I think what the Igbo community need now is power.
Yep.
And I actually like your smartness. Yep. What this thing you put up here is just like a prototype.
It is.
If the Eastern governors can put up, if they can sit down together and bring something out, this is a prototype.
Absolutely.
Because I was going through it. This is how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
definitely need electricity because we already have manufacturing in the east. We have manufacturing in Abia. We have manufacturing in Nnewi. Then we have markets in Onitsha. We have markets in Aba. So we need electricity, cheap electricity.
Yes.
You know?
Industrial parks.
Absolutely.
Modern cities.
Absolutely.
Look at you did this, right? You designed this, right?
Yeah. With the help of AI. With the help of AI.
With the help of
I'm not going to take 100% credit.
You did, but at least you brought something. You brought something.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I took my time and studied this. I think this is the way forward.
Absolutely.
This is just the way forward.
Absolutely. But Executive Corp, I'm going to need you to round up in maybe 30 seconds if you have any final thoughts so that we'll go move forward, so that we'll go move the mic.
So my own is just to contribute to your work.
All right. Thank you so much.
So I really appreciate your kind of wisdom.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much for joining.
I really appreciate it. Nice one, bro.
Appreciate it. In 30 years from now, Igbo land will be great. Igbo land will be
great.
Yes.
Let us start building it now. Let's start it now. Start it now. We don't need to start waiting for next year. So it will attract others to our community.
Absolutely.
Yes, it will attract people. When people come, it goes a long way. Like this now, with this, my bro, there's something I mapped out of your prototype.
Okay.
This prototype now will make the Igbos get power, the power they want.
Yeah, I mean, if it's followed, if they follow this man, it was in OT, if they follow OT's blueprint as well, that's another way to go.
Yes.
Empower the whole of our Southeast.
Like
absolutely.
Let's say we have OT like 3.
Absolutely.
The job is done. The power is there.
Absolutely.
So everybody will come. Yes, everybody will stand. This is you are saying you are not blind.
Now so it be.
They are saying, now so it be now.
Now so it be.
But
my brother, Executive Corp, we need to move forward. I appreciate you for joining.
Move forward.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much for joining. All right. Make we bring our next guest up here. My sister Annie. Annie say power. Cho. Power. You sabi that man wey they call Bish money. Bish money go say power. P2B power. Anyway, let's keep the show going. Future P, thank you for joining. Let us hear your thoughts on the topic. Akuruoulo 2.0, from mansions to industries. What are your thoughts? Future P, are you there? All right, we'll go bring Future P down. If you are here, if you're still there, please request again. And get your network, maybe not network problem you get, but just put your network together and then request again. All right, make we see Rapuluchuku leave talk for God. Abi, you know what you mean? Rapuluchuku. Yeah, leave talk for God. Okay. Rapulu, let's call you Rapulu. The thing is a tongue twister. My tongue, no, they calibrated like that. But thank you for joining, my brother. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I was enjoying the conversation.
Appreciate it.
I think it is. I have been in few. I'm actually in Malaysia.
Okay.
So I have been in few.
You don't need to tell us. Keep your personal stuff to yourself, unless it's needed. We don't need, not public.
Yeah. One of the reasons I say that is I have attended some African community.
I see.
And I don't see, like, they talk about the problems. They do talk about the problem. But when you look at the structure of African communities, you realize that they don't have leader, they don't have goal, they don't have vision on how to execute and solve problems. And if you look at back in Nigeria, this is the same thing. In the field I am, I'm into, I set up business, I run businesses here.
Okay.
And I have, over a few years, we've been able to set up programs to help, especially Nigerians, Africans, who can find job, who are in the street. And I can tell you the challenges we get. The challenges whereby someone that was begging for a job, after 6 months, he's making, let's say, he have got enough, and he start telling you, you need to pay me this. Other companies are doing this, doing that. It reminds you that you didn't pay me for the program that we are doing. And another thing is, how many people want to put hands to grow something that will enable the future Africans to find that portal for help?
Yeah.
Nobody. So if you look around here in Malaysia, everybody has this small village shop. That's how I put it. It's a village shop where you put this red and blue. You will see one shop, they're supposed to sell a standard thing, how the Malaysian shop works. No, they are running it like they are selling brush, they are selling food, beans, clothes, everything is like a hustling. And there's no structure where some few well-to-do Nigerians can come out and set up like a more like African international schools, things like this, because this is what actually creates job for the future.
Yeah.
So what I see from my study is that Africans do not understand what future tells us. They understand that energy of get mine, my own. There's always difference between solving a problem and creating a portal for people to solve the problem themselves.
Yeah.
Creating the opportunity. So that's why we just started a program that will help. It's more like we are using AI and some tech to bring to bridge this problem where Africans cannot invest in someone that is talented. So we are actually bringing foreigners to do that in Africa, in Nigeria, in any country in Africa.
Yeah.
And yeah, I studied this over the year. This is my almost 19 years in Malaysia, and have been working closely with helping a lot of Africans. But what I found out is people tend to come to me when things started blooming, like things are doing well, then they start, I want to put my money. But when I reach out to them and say, guys, this is going to make sense in the next 5 years. It's going to be able to create job, do this, do that. Nobody want to step into that. They will tell you, this is a very good one. That blah, 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 but nobody's coming in. So when we talk about how we can Akuruoulo, it is about, that's why I created that program, which we're going to be launching maybe in next 2 months.
Okay.
To bring that program to Africa where Africans can easily, if you are talented in something, you'll be able to assess somebody who can invest in you. And when he's investing in you, what you are doing can be seen. It's not like they give you money and then you go and sit down.
Yeah.
Oh, I have. Yeah. We are creating such system that will power Africans. That is what I achieved from working with a lot of Africans till now. So that's what I wanted to share. It's not
Absolutely.
that there's no problem. Africans, everybody, onye ọbụla ma problem.
Yeah.
Enwe problem.
Now
Enwe
this
problem. Ebe ọ bụ na
solution.
na-ekwu problem.
We
Yeah,
should-
solution
solutions.
is what you need.
Solutions.
An action to that
Solutions.
problem. And when we are talking about even to solve that problem, we need to focus on the opportunity to create. So that anybody that walks past that same problem finds a way to solve it himself.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I've worked with Chinese, with Caucasian, and one thing that they have, even Japanese, one thing they have in common is when they come to this country or anywhere in the country, they establish a business. When I mean business, not Boba Kunkum na Anchana and those. No, I'm talking about real business.
Yeah.
International business that will require some African knowledge to come and run it in future. That will expand in future, become franchise
Absolutely.
to even internationally. But who is doing that?
Yep.
Let
me ask you a question based on and you don't need to tell us like the name of your company or all that good stuff, but just based on your skill set, right? You said what you're doing is building systems to power Africans, right? For me, right, I have this concept in my head of, I always look at the markets, like area markets. I always look at, maybe call it poultry farming, whatever business you can think of running in Nigeria, like on a small scale, like Kachina or just a runner. Not me. If I want to do them, I have a concept of what I want it to look like, right? But what would you say, or how would you say with these systems, where they use for your place of work or your business, right? With these systems, how would you improve a place like Ariara? Even though shout out to Oti. Oti is doing some work in Ariara right now to, make the face, the facelift and all that, make it look better and somewhat modern. What would you say you would do different in a space like that? Maybe say Ariara, or again in a poultry farm where maybe a Nigerian just start up. You would see it's always looking raggedy, but when you see that same poultry farm, maybe an Indonesian person gets that poultry farm for Indonesia. It looks different. I'll take, for instance, you get this Uganda guy while they're watching YouTube channel. This guy has a I forget the name of his channel now anyway. It's not very important. But this Uganda guy running in Uganda, you see, I've watched him like in the past 3 years, how this guy has grown his business, his poultry farm business. He now has a mill. He now has like a place where they rear cattle, goats, all that stuff. Like he's grown this business exponentially. But you see a Nigerian person running that same poultry farm. They're stuck there for 5 years. What would you say, or how would you say your systems would help these kind of businesses in Nigeria?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for this question, because I have a lot to answer you right now, and that's what we are actually doing in Malaysia.
Okay.
So let me use like the let's say food. We know a lot of Africans are cooking in Nigeria, in Ghana. Now, this system that we're gonna bring down and introduce to Africa, what it does is a lay person that is just cooking and selling this in the street.
Yeah.
We can actually optimize and upgrade what he's doing by just cook the food, a big amount of food, and we have technology to store this food in a pack that can last for at least 17 months. Now, what are we doing for that person? We're giving him opportunity to sell thousands of days instead of you walking on the street doing that. Now, we're giving you opportunity to export your food in outside country. There's no like chemical in this food. I'm telling you technology, which I have shared in different places. And you know what most Nigerians say to me? Wow, I don't carry poison come. Now, so right now, we are the only people running egusi paste. If you have heard about egusi paste, we actually invented that 4 years ago. We launched it in Malaysia. Now it's in Singapore, in Malaysia, and also in Thailand, some of it. Now, why I try to set up a program to teach people how this is done, none want to attend to that. That is the problem. Now, when I look at this, I say that I can't keep coming out to teach people. It depends whether they want to listen or not.
Yeah.
So what I did was I start investing in this program, which we're gonna launch. Now, what this program does for you is, if you understand it, you go there. Let's say one of the wealthy people in Nigeria can look at it and say, okay, let me set this machine in Nigeria, in different state. You set this machine, all these people cooking, instead of you cooking that small, let's say one pot, you can cook as large as you can, bring it to that the factory, and they repackage the food for you to last longer. Now, where you need to focus now is how to export this food. Now we are encouraging those poor businesses which has energy. If I tell you how much we have made in a goosey paste today, just buy a goosey and pour it, and then you put your protein and fufu together. We are making so much, but how many people want to listen to what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I have been on some platform and I say, guys, this is what we are doing, and I think someone immediately says scam and 419. Immediately, I haven't even finished what I wanted to say, but in their mind, you are coming to take the remaining one. Yeah.
Totally understand. And one way I can think of how you can preserve food for that long is dehydration. That's one thing that's just coming to my head.
That's the most simple one that you know. Dehydration.
Yeah.
But dehydration can last you for 1 year, as we all know. If you Google it, AI is there. Anybody can get knowledge at any time.
Absolutely.
But when you go for retort or go for freezer dryer can last for 25 years. Nobody knows this, but they think everything is what they call that chemical they use, preservation, all those things. It is not.
Absolutely.
We have geisha we are consuming for years, tomato paste, all those things. And these ordinary Nigerians can make tomato paste at their home, bring it and then repackage it. You can run your factory from your home already.
Absolutely.
This is what we want to bring down to Nigeria. Absolutely. And that's why when I go to African community in Malaysia, the first thing I look at, I sit down and listen to the same people, the same Kenyan, saying, "Oh, we have problem. We don't get this. They stop us all the time. We can do this." I say, when I stand up, I say, guys,
problems
we
like
know
Ariala.
that these are
There
the
are
problems.
problems. Let us talk about solutions. And now, why I bring up these my shows? Sometimes when I think of solutions like this, I come and talk about it on live like this, and just once I don't talk, I know say I don't rest for that day. But it's what it is, my brother Akuruoulo. I appreciate you for joining us today and sharing your thoughts and sharing your your business proposal, business plan, and what you do for work. I appreciate it. We'll go cut the video and put it out there for people who want to listen and who want to learn. And the ones who want to learn, hopefully they will reach out to you as well and get into it. But hopefully you go start for Igbo land, because now Akuruoulo, what they talk about? We need businesses in Igbo land. We know we need the mansions, but we also need the businesses, because now those industrial parks go make the cities there efficient and safe and secure, so that people, even if when those mansions are built, it will still be safe for your children to come back, and the cities would expand, for years and years and years to come. But I appreciate you, my brother, for joining. I think we have come to the end of today's show. We don't get any other guests requesting right now, so that would be the end of our show. And I appreciate everybody for being here. Make I just shout out a few people here before I go. Kulata, my brother from YouTube, I thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Itu Osas says, do Igbo do joint business? And that is part of the Akuruoulo they talk about. It's a portion of that. These businessmen, they need to bring that their 1 billion. Imagine 100 these billionaires. 1 billion, 100. Now 100 billion, 100 billion. Imagine what 100 billion naira would do for the Southeast. Imagine what 100 billion naira would do for the Southeast. But yeah, that's part of what we're talking about here on the Akuruoulo 2.0, from mansions to industries. That's part of what we're talking about. Skin to skin, say English akaria. English akaria. Now English where me I they take talk, my brother. My Igbo not too good for mouth, so I know they too use them. The other go, I dey try where I dey fit try, but I know they fit use and hold long conversations. Me and my sister Anyi, we be Fulani, we no sabi speak Igbo. So now so it just be. EJ Life, thank you for being here. My sister Anyi, my sister, thank you for being here. Now my Fulani sister, me and her now Fulani together. And now my best friend too. Anyway, Gary Go, thank you for the rose. EJ Life again, thank you. One choice, thank you so much. Attitude, thank you for the rose. Executive Cup, thank you for the rose. I think we had a good show today. We'll go cut the videos like we always do and put it on all our platforms for the people who know they available today to watch us live. We're gonna put it on all our platforms so you guys can catch them and watch them in bits. But anyway, like always, my name is Kachi and I'm the host of the Bia Palo Show. Peace.